Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time just like wine does. This week we have Michelangelo, and this episode, if you're on YouTube, I'm trying to see if the video format's a little different, so let me know if you like it or not. And we'll also be having kind of like a mukbang, ASMR, charcuterie addition to this episode, so if the crunching's super annoying, I apologize. But anyway, yeah, hi Michelangelo.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty well. Just trying to keep myself busy, during taking a summer course right now. So taking one thing at a time.
Yeah, and I guess that ties into what you're going to share about mindfulness and
Yeah.
being grounded, huh?
Yeah. So I met just a little background. I met Zaira when I was a film major back in 2017, I believe. Yeah, 2017. And we met, I remember it was one of Rodney's classes. I think it was directing, I forgot which one. It was a long time ago.
It's been a long time. I don't even remember.
I think it was 4 years ago. And then I kind of switched then to creative writing. That's where I got my bachelor's in this summer. And so, but during that process, I really got into psychology as well and learning about mindfulness. And I kind of stumbled upon it back when I was at La Sierra in 2018. They used to have like these group things where they would come like every Thursday at 11 to 12, at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. They would come. Anyone could show up, and there would be different types of meditations. So I remember the first time I went, it was the first time I did a mindful eating meditation. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, but I remember when we first talked, you were sharing about it, and I wish I knew about it when we were both in school.
Yeah, so I kind of found out through the school, and then slowly kind of just did my own research on it. And that's where I know we talked about where I stumbled upon Alan Watts, and then later on Ram Dass. So that kind of led one thing to another, to like the pioneers that like basically brought mindfulness from because mindfulness is old, like it's like 8,000 years old from like the East. Like, many Buddhist monks used it since like forever, but it didn't get popular to the West till around like the 60s, where, people like Alan Watts, philosophers like Alan Watts, and psychologist Ram Dass would bring it over to the West and make it very mainstream in America. So mindfulness is, the best way to describe it is just learning to be in the present moment. That's just kind of the basis of it, where we're like, and especially in America, we're kind of like in this like stigma where we always worry about what's going to happen. What will happen if I do this? What if, we get all these what ifs in our head. And then also like we can look back at the past and can become sad, like, oh, we feel regret, like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have, whatever it might be. So the whole practice of mindfulness is you're just learning that those two, like, you can't tell what the future is going to bring you, and what's done is done, the past. So it's kind of like it's like a change in your mindset in a way.
Mm. Yeah, you did a whole article about it, which I'll link in the bio to whatever platform people are listening on.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into more of that, shall we taste our wines?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I got it for my birthday. It's forget, my French is terrible. Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir. Okay. Yeah, I know. And then because like I was telling Zaira, I'm barely getting into wines. I was more of a beer guy. So this is like kind of a new field for me. So like the whole thing of like, I'm starting to learn like what's a dry wine. I just found out you were saying how white wines are more dry, which makes sense because I'm not really a fan of white wines.
At least generally, yeah. Most whites are dry. There's a few that are super sweet, like Moscato, and then with reds, you have kind of more of a variety, I think. I have a Syrah, and if people remember from a previous episode, this is from the Calvary winery. And so we got another bottle from the same winery, just a different type of wine. So I'm curious to see how this compares to the other one. But yeah, just a red. And then I have little bread crackers with brie cheese and honey fig jam on it.
Oh, dang. That sounds really good. You came prepared.
I came prepared. I've been really getting into like brie cheese with jam. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go big.
Yeah. I remember I used to do that a lot in like middle school. I used to eat those.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm really starting to get more into it. It's something like I felt it's weird. Like I almost consider getting to wine like I'm getting older. I don't like the transition. I don't know. It's just me. Like, cause I'm 24, in my mid-20s. So I don't know.
I mean, when my first 2 years of college, especially when you go to like college parties and stuff, it's only beer. And so at the time, that was what I first got introduced to. And so I would consider myself more of a beer person in my early 20s, but now I'm into wine. I think it's like once you're out of college type of thing.
Yeah.
You kind of settle into something more old or classy.
Definitely. And I think, honestly, like I'm starting to like the taste more than beer because, beer's all like, I'm kind of getting tired of like carbonated stuff. So like I never liked sparkling wine, and even when I drink beer, like the Stella Rosa stuff, because it was also like super sweet for me too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess the one I'm kind of starting to like is like that full, but like a little bit on the dry side. I don't know what you would call that, but
so definitely. Well, we'll have to see how you like the Pinot Noir, but I guess other wines I would recommend are kind of like that. Maybe, well, Pinot Noir is really good, I think. I personally like Zinfandels. I think those have lots of different like tannins and spices. And so I was told Pete Syrah is a Zinfandel on steroids. So I'm still learning like the specifics, but I don't know. I think definitely I stick more to the reds.
Yeah, and I really want to go into like wine tasting. Because I told you I was up in Fresno for the week, and there was like I guess a lot of like wineries up there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know it's like right there in Central. There's like Napa, of course, and
Lodi.
I heard, Lodi has a lot. So that's something I definitely look forward to because I never gone wine tasting before, so that'll be interesting.
Well, funny enough, I actually today was my first shift at San Antonio Winery, and so we do wine tastings there, so let me know. Yeah.
Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I didn't, because I knew, I knew Chad was doing it. He got like that, I forgot where he got it, but somewhere in, I don't know if it's Central California.
He works at a winery in Lodi.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah. And I know that guy loves his wines.
Oh.
Met him.
Honestly, I think shout out to Chad. The reason why I got into wines is partially because of Chad, because that's all he drinks.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, cheers, Michelangelo.
Cheers. Yeah, it's really good.
I like.
Yeah.
It's not like what?
It's not like. It's like a good balance of like little dry but not too sweet. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm. I like this one. I think it's pretty smooth. It's definitely some berry notes to it, but not, again, like you said, not super sweet. And I don't think I would consider this a super dry wine. So yeah, I recommend this one, guys.
Nice.
So anyway, let's talk about mindfulness, and then let's hear your story about getting into mindfulness. And well, you shared a little bit from La Sierra that kind of got you more with Alan Watts and all that, but what do you have to share with the rest of us?
So and I wrote this in the article, but I'll just summarize it. Basically, I suffered, through anxiety since basically my whole life. I had a high, anxiety when I was a little kid, I just get very stressed. I used to have a lot of social anxiety, but it just got better over time, especially through college. College really helped me with that, with friends I've made and people I've met. Um, but the big thing that really helped me, definitely, I'd say mindfulness helped me a lot in that process of making my anxiety less and less worried. And so, doing different meditations. So in the article I talked about the um the box breathing, if you remember that part where you hold your breath in for 4 seconds and then you breathe out for 4 seconds and you wait for 4 seconds. So it's like a whole, and I put a chart there. So it's like a whole cycle. Maybe you can like put it when you edit in post.
I'll find a picture and like put it on there for people
Yeah,
watching on YouTube.
it's better to, it's more better to like visually see it than describe it. But yeah, so the base, and it's to kind of like help calm you and basically just accept things as they are, like whatever sounds you might hear. Because that's one thing I think a lot of people think about, oh, I have to be in this quiet Buddhist temple to meditate. Like, no, you can meditate anywhere, your house, the park, it's literally anywhere. And don't worry if you hear like, oh, well, I hear people come, like that's fine. You just accept. Basically, the whole point is just accepting things as they are and don't like just focus. That's why we use breathing as a way to focus like on the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So with me with anxiety, so like what really helped me with when I found it at La Sierra was they gave at the end of the meditate, because I remember the first time we did mindful eating. And to basically summarize mindful eating, it's basically you can get any type of food, whether it's nuts, fruit, candy, whatever you want. And you basically just take time and you like first you just smell the scent, whatever it might be. Like in this case, we use a tangerine. You smell it and then you use like all your five senses. You feel the texture. And the whole point is it kind of just grounds you to that moment. And that's when the first time I feel like, oh wow, I feel very calm because this was like during finals week too. So it was great when you get a lot of stress, if you remember that. Especially that one quarter in particular, I had to take the general math. I can't believe I dreaded that. Oh my gosh.
Math at La Sierra was ass.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone agrees to that. Like that stupid 006 and 7 thing. I'm sorry. It's just no.
So the reason why I got my red hair was when I passed 007 because it was like I'm breaking up from math. That's how bad it was.
Those teachers, I don't know. It's just not like how I learned in high school. I was like, what? I would get so lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I was good in math in high school. So when I went to last year, I was like, what are they teaching me? So I don't know. It was something. Yeah. But so that was, a very stressful quarter for me. And so that definitely helped like ground me. And at the end of the session, the therapist she would basically give us a paper to practice at home, like how to practice each time we went. So like, oh, you can take it, and then she showed like the benefits. So for mindful eating, one of the big benefits is like it can even help you lose weight because a lot of people, she was talking about how in the pamphlet, how a lot of people eat a lot of food really fast because we're always like go, 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 especially in America. So what happens is like our bodies just doesn't take time. Like, sometimes when you eat too quick, you have like you get heartburn or something. And it turns out they did a study that actually produces like your lipids produce more when it's rushing because it thinks like you're starving yourself and you're surviving. So it can help by slowly, taking your time to chew the food and swallow it. You actually give your body like your metabolism time to process it, and be a lot healthier for you as well. So it also could help you physically and not just mentally. Because there's this documentary I want to watch it. I saw clips of it where they took Buddhist monks and they gave them MCAT, and they found out that their brain had a lot less cortisol, which is
Mm.
like the hormone that makes,
The stress hormone.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like that causes the fight or flight sequence. So for them, just seeing that, how it's just by doing mindfulness every day. I mean, these guys have been doing it forever, but doing it, every day can like really affect you and your body, kind of like just like making healthy choices with foods you eat or exercising. So I see it as the best way to describe it is like a mental exercise for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because mindfulness is hard to do. It's not,
Mhm.
it takes a lot of practice. You have to be consistent with it every day, right?
Yeah, you do. And I'll admit, there's times where I, would not do it. And like, I couldn't keep it consistent, but just like everything else, like, sometimes you eat junk food, sometimes, you miss, the whole thing, don't skip leg day, you know, and that's okay to do that because it's just part of daily life and the process.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So, what would be tips things you've learned that people could start working on if they want to start practicing mindfulness, or how to reduce cortisol levels of stress?
hmm So one thing, and this is going to sound a little, I wouldn't say dark, but like this reality. So one thing and I learned this from Alan Watts and he described it as like, basically, we're all going to die one day. And Alan Watts was saying how like, anxiety is almost like you're grabbing on a boulder that's falling down. And no matter what, you're going to fall, you're going to crash with that boulder. So that's how he sees life. And so anxiety is basically like you clenching as hard as you can to that boulder, just trying, but eventually you're going to fall no matter what. So if you're constantly worried, and this can be for anything, constant worry of, oh, will I get this job? Will I, fear of rejection, fear, any type of fear you might have, not just death, but basically accepting that, life is short, and accept that first moment is like, I think the key to then starting mindfulness and feeling like, okay, I'm here, and just have to go with the flow of life. So and it comes back to even way back. I can talk about like the history of like, even like, I don't know if you heard of Taoism,
Mm-hmm.
how like going, basically the whole term going with the flow. What was the book? The Lao Tzu wrote it. It was the Tao Te Ching, I believe. Yeah, I started reading it, but I wasn't able to finish it yet. But it just gives like little steps, like what to do daily, and I really found it helpful for me in my like mindfulness path, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, acceptance, like just accept the whole thing of, hey, I'm here for a short while. Like really just grounding yourself to that is, I think, the first step into realizing, oh, and then now I can like learn then to enjoy every moment, even if like a day may seem mundane, like, yeah, not every day. I mean, COVID, I think really could challenge a lot of people, like especially people that, love to go out, like people who love to go to raves. I have many friends who couldn't go to raves anymore, or people who couldn't, go, even simple things like, go out to a restaurant, and it's just learning to like live in the moment and day by day, and I think and there's many other things you can do. One thing that really helped me was journaling. I know journaling, I heard, is using therapy too. So like just appreciating what you have, not taking things for granted. And that's kind of like how I really, got out of my kind of anxious phase during most of my life. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
For the journaling, I definitely think is really helpful. Just if you need a vent, writing it down, getting it off your chest is super therapeutic. But then also writing what are the three things you're grateful for today, or
Yeah.
three affirmations for yourself, like positive reminders, I think is super helpful. So what else in your article for people that haven't read it yet, like, and want to learn more? What are things that you would want to tell the audience of when you're getting started with mindfulness?
I would say, because I know, and I wrote in the article, there's a conflict, especially like, because, well, a little backstory. I wrote the article originally for me and Zyra went to La Sierra University, which is a Christian university. So a lot of people have this, like, especially in the Christian community, like this, they even told me this when they were workshopping my article, that many people might like feel like, oh, you're trying to switch me to a Buddhist. Like, no, mindfulness is not Buddhism. It's literally like yoga. Yoga is originally from the East as well, and it was used also in Buddhist teaching, but it's not a type, it's just a type of practice that you use, like you can be a Christian, a Muslim, any religion you want, and practice mindfulness each day. So there's like that little controversy, and people I've met when I talked about it with people at La Sierra kind of mentioned, I mean, there are a lot of people are open-minded, but some people were a little hesitant because of that, like the whole background of Buddhism, thinking like, oh, is this a religious practice? I mean, yeah, I agree. It was used in religion, but in Buddhism, but you can't, like I said, just like yoga, it's just a exercise that just got popular in the West. You don't, you're not going to become a Buddhist because you're doing yoga. So same thing with mindfulness.
It's interesting you brought that up. In my senior year of high school, I went to a Christian high school. And so my teacher at the time had taught us that we're not allowed to do yoga because it's satanic and all this, like, really, super deep into that. And it's just, again, when you go to any type of religion, when you're not fully aware of the history and the purpose and like the benefits, there's just a level of ignorance that we just don't know. So yeah, and that makes a lot of sense that people would be very hesitant to want to do mindfulness practices or not know really what it is. So how can you walk through like your step-by-step of when you're practicing mindfulness, or if you were to tell somebody how to do it, what would be the steps?
So I think the best thing for beginner, I recommend, I mean, you talk to therapists, anybody, different experts, people will tell you, oh, do this one. I think the best though, especially now with technology, is using like an app for guided meditation where you have a guide kind of bring you down. And that's where like I kind of, I know I talked to you about it, that's now getting popularized on Netflix, like Headspace, where you can now like go on your TV and just lay on the floor or, be on your phone in your bed and just find time. It'll help you like give you specific things to do, like, oh, hold your breath. Or there's even things where one of my favorites is called, muscle relaxation, or basically you tense certain parts of your muscle, like you squeeze. The guide will say, oh, squeeze your hands for 5 seconds and then you let go. It's progressive muscle relaxation. So you're basically releasing tension out of your body. So I think that's a great beginning for those who want to start it, because you have like a guide. I think you'll be less overwhelming than feeling like, oh, I need to go out somewhere or get food, go buy specific groceries for the eating one. I think guided meditation is a good one for beginner, because it'll help like guide them. Okay, take a deep breath in and then hold it and then, pause and then let it out. So it'll definitely help you be practice and then to the point where then you can do it on your own, where you won't need a guide anymore.
So like some ways I kind of practice mindfulness is just kind of meditating for a little bit, journaling, just kind of being in the moment. You can pray. That's mindfulness.
Yeah, praying's mindfulness too.
Yeah. Yoga, being able.
A lot of things we do, we don't even are aware of. Like I started getting to digital art during the pandemic, and that's helped me so much, like relaxing too. Like I consider that my form of meditation.
Yeah, for me, it's been reading books. this year. Art. That's like mindfulness or meditation. Going on a walk. It's a sort of
Yeah.
meditation. Through therapy, I learned when you're having an anxiety attack or panic attack, there's mindfulness techniques you can do to kind of bring you back to the grounding, and that's using all your senses and kind of just putting yourself back to where you are and making you mindful of your present. So it's like a bunch of different ways that you can do it.
Yes, it's funny you mentioned you got into reading. So my creative writing teacher was Sarah Fordham. I don't know if you knew her.
I love her. She's an awesome
amazing
professor.
Yeah, she's like, oh, she taught me so much how to write stories. She's great. So she talked about how, like, she really says how, she always encourages reading to become, we heard of this, like, to become a great writer, you have to become a great reader. So she kind of like, told me how, like, important, like, you can use reading as a type of meditation. And she was even saying how there was a study, how it helped people who were suffering from depression, reading. And I heard a lot of people since COVID started, got into reading. Like, my sister, she's out there buying like books at Barnes and Noble and Target every day. She's always like putting it on her Instagram story. And then like many other people I know are getting to reading, because it's kind of like, it's escapism, but it's also just, I think, a great way to learn just to live like moment by moment, like as you read through each novel, whether it's for fun, whether, it's like informative. Like I love, I got back into reading like fiction, for example, just to help with my own writing. So, but I also saw it as a form of meditation as well. So it's really interesting how, yeah, that one's reading's getting, back into popularity now.
Yeah, for me, I used to read a lot as a kid and then got into high school and college and stopped reading because when you're reading so much, you just don't want to do it anymore. And like through therapy, got recommended like self-help books, and I realized that's what I really want to read now, is just being informative, learning. And so, yeah, it's just really interesting, different ways of just being mindful, like putting yourself in mindfulness that we don't realize that we do on the daily basis already.
Yeah, I started reading those too. I'm currently reading a book. I actually have it right here. It's called, I don't know if you heard of it, The Happiness Trap.
No.
Yeah, I was recommended to actually by my therapist, and it's basically just like, so there's this new, I don't know if you practiced in your therapy, like CBT or DBT.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah, cognitive. So this is kind of takes it more at a different level. It's called ACT. And basically ACT kind of basically you learn how to, let's say when you get a negative thought, right? And it teaches you that you get this thought, like, for example, oh, I failed a math test, I'm stupid because I failed it. So it makes you rationalize that thought, and it makes you think like, oh, okay, is this thought helpful? Is this thought useful? And if it's, so kind of, it's a way to, like, it's a whole process. And once you have that, the thought in your mind, you learn, okay, if it's helpful, then I'll apply it. And if it's not, then I'll just throw it away and forget about it. So it's almost like treating thoughts as just, and this was one thing that mindfulness does, is treating thoughts like, almost the best way to symbolize it is like clouds going by. So imagine just like you're just passing by, you get a negative thought, but it doesn't mean that it's real. So that's one thing this book really helped me. So I highly recommend it. It's by Russ Harris. And I know he's a PhD in psychology. So it's definitely helped me a lot, especially during this pandemic, because, I know this pandemic really like affected me, especially I heard a lot of young people, because just not being able to go out. And that's when I think I had to apply mindfulness even more because of that. So yeah. It's really been, yeah. So definitely practicing ACT is a great way. And this book is the best one that introduces it, because it's kind of hard to go in depth with it. There's like a slow step-by-step process when it comes to ACT. But yeah, it's definitely helped me a lot past year.
I'm gonna have to buy that book. I'll put the link in the bio, people. That way you can find it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some books that were helpful for me: Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff, and then How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera. And self-compassion is just learning how to talk to yourself compassionately, and the negative thoughts and all of that, how to reframe the way you talk to yourself. So I guess it ties in a lot to that book. And How to Do Work, it reflects on like your inner child and everything and the way you act now and how to process that. So interesting.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because I know there's the first self-help book that I read was it's called The War, not the Art of War, The War of Art. It's like verse. And so I found that I kind of stumbled upon that, and it's helped. I think it's really good for artists. So I really recommend this for anyone who's a writer in the film industry, trying to, it's basically just teaching you that living, step by step and going like showing how like there's always be like distractions and problems in your life they'll make you not want to complete the work. So it's a great way of like how to be mindful while you're doing your whatever form of art you're doing, whether it's composing music, creating a film, writing a story. So it's definitely like that was kind of like my introduction to self-help, and that's when like I wanted to find more and more, and that's where I found like the Alan Watt books that really helped me of learning mindfulness. And then I remember I found through Chandler the book. That's what I was introduced to Ram Dass, the book Be Here Now, and that one I think was very helpful because the way Ram Dass words it, like it's almost like, I don't know if you've seen it. It's like almost like scrolls, and
Yeah.
it's like you're reading like an ancient scroll textbook, and the way he makes the fonts, it's almost like it does a psychological thing to your brain. Like it makes you like emphasize certain words, and I thought that was really interesting because I've never seen a book do that before. So
it's very intentional.
Yeah, and you could tell it's very intentional, and it's really showed me how you live. Life is too short to just worry all the time, and it just takes and I'm not, like I said, I'm still not an expert. I'm still like new to this. So I started this, like I said, in 2018. So it takes a long time. So what I recommend to the audience is, if you feel that it's not working the first time, don't worry about it. It takes, like anything else, you have to just practice it and like apply it each day in your everyday life. And like we were talking about, it could be something simple like reading a book. Don't think like, oh, I have to just sit down and meditate and take deep breaths. There's so many things like cooking. Like that's another thing I started getting into is cooking can be a form of mindfulness because you're like spending time, dicing vegetables or cutting the meat. So there's so many ways you can practice mindfulness and apply it to your everyday life.
What are some things that caught you by surprise or things you didn't expect when starting to learn about mindfulness and doing it in your daily life?
I had to say what I didn't expect was how much it improved my life. I kind of was skeptical at first. Like I thought, oh, what's breathing gonna do? I kind of was a little skeptical going into it, but doing it, it's kind of like lifting weights. The first day you're not going to notice results, muscle growth. So just keeping it consistent, practicing it. And then it got to a point where it became habitual for me, where if I didn't listen to like an Alan Watts lecture at night or a mindfulness, I couldn't sleep. So like make it like a habitual thing to where you feel like, oh, I got to do this, like just like a daily, like go exercising or praying, or whatever it might be. You kind of like make it your daily life where a habit. So where if you don't do it, you'll feel very weird and like off. So that's what I would say. How surprisingly effective, because it didn't, it wasn't like, oh, I feel so relaxed all of a sudden. It took time. Like I'd say by the fourth time is when I started learning to just zone into the moment.
Yeah, for me, it took me a long time to even get meditation
Hmm.
and understand it. I'm still learning, but I think I finally now have been able to get to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm in it, I understand it, and now I'm seeing how it's working for me. But
Hmm.
it can kind of be discouraging at the beginning because especially when you're learning and you feel like you have to do things a certain type of way or based on what people are telling you how to do it specifically, it might not work for you or
Hmm.
there's a learning curve. So yeah, it can be discouraging sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Um, because you can and I think the big thing for me too was I get distracted easily. So hearing those sounds, it kind of like made me open my eyes, like, huh? So it kind of ruined that, like falling into that like mindfulness mode. Cause it kind of like, oh, I get like a phone notification. Oh, I got to turn off my phone, like, oh, a dog barked and like, it's kind of lost my concept. So at first, if you kind of lose concentration, that's perfectly normal. And I heard this even from therapists too. So don't have this fear, like worry, like, oh, it didn't work the third time, so I guess it's not for me, mindfulness. Um, and just to know, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, so don't feel like, oh, I can get off medication. There's people that will need both mindfulness, like just like people need therapy and medication. So don't like feel like, oh, this is the cure. It's like I can get off the meds and go, it's just use it, treat it like, don't treat it like a supplement, treat it like a lifestyle, a type of lifestyle you apply in your life, daily life.
I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, I think there might be misconception of people that do need medication and people that don't, and
Hmm.
what are you supposed to do between that? So, yeah, thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, because like everything else, the medication's a tool, therapy's a tool, and mindfulness is a tool. So, like I said, there's people that need more medication than therapy, and vice versa. And the same thing applies with mindfulness. Everybody's different. So it's just don't, still go to your, if you still go to your therapist, still go to your psychologist. I'm not saying, drop this, I found the solution. Um, One other thing I really thought was interesting was the Midnight Gospel. Because saw that on Netflix. I know we talked about that. And I started actually listening to the guy's podcast, Duncan Trussell.
Hmm.
And he really goes like, the guy's a total hippie. And I love the guy. He's awesome. Like he just talks to different people like shamans and writers and how like they applied mindfulness in their lives. And he actually inspired me to to want to start a podcast, which I want to get to my friend, but he's like so hard to reach. And I don't know why, he's kind of going his own little journey. But yeah, so Duncan Trussell also was a good one I started listening to like on Apple Podcast, where he like just talked about like different things, like how what he even talked with Joe Rogan as well. He was hosted, and how like they talked to, I mean, he talks about a lot of stuff. He talks about politics, he talks about everything, but like I love his mindfulness ones especially because it shows like his experience with it, and then how he found Ram Dass, and he was actually able to meet him before he passed away. So I thought that was amazing. And yeah, that's something I definitely recommend. Is definitely the Midnight Gospel. It's such a great, yeah, and the show on Netflix is a good intro to it.
Hmm.
Like it's cool. It's like they talk while it's the podcast, but there's animation. Like because at first I kind of struggle to focus in podcasts, like paying attention. So the animation kind of helped me. So it's good that they have that option.
Yeah, Midnight Gospel. is trippy. If you really want to learn more about kind of psychedelic mindfulness and everything and the ego and all that, it's definitely very trippy. I recommend it. I enjoyed watching the Midnight Gospel. Yeah.
Yeah. There's even like I remember a Ram Dass scene where they got a recording of him. I think it was at the last episode. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I think it was the last episode. Oh, I haven't watched in a year already, right? It's already been out for a year, right?
I think so. I don't know if it's gonna do a season 2. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, that's definitely another, and he has like different guest stars in each one. So that's really interesting. So I found that, and also so with the Alan Watts, like I first read the lectures and then later on I kind of went through the books, and the books kind of summarize his work, but he goes more in depth. So I think starting like, and so believe it or not, I'm sure you're aware of this because I know you're into like EDM. Like people have been using his lectures like in songs. Like I know if you noticed that. I forgot this one that I forgot the name of the artist, but it's the one with the upside down reverse pyramid, and he's talking about like what is it? Reality is this, or
yes. I'm totally blanking too. I'm gonna blame it on the wine. I'll put the link in the bio though for people to listen.
I think the artist name is
Enzo.
Enzo.
Yes. No, Enzo.
I forgot the name of the song. I know that's the artist name. I forgot the song though.
Oh, yeah, no, but Enzo. I've seen him live, and I remember hearing him play that live, and I was like, whoa.
Oh, wow. That must be real. Like hearing that at a concert, Alan Watts, that must be really cool.
And this was before I even knew much about Alan Watts. This is a couple years ago when I saw him. So I just remember listening, and I was like, this is deep.
Yeah, and he's also in other type things too. Like there's even like, I heard Ram Dass lo-fi, Alan Watts lo-fi.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube, Alan Watts chill step or lo-fi.
Yeah, chill step. Yeah.
Some really cool music.
Yeah, so you can like even, if you find music a way to relax you, I think that's a good intro too. If you like kind of struggle to pay attention with lectures, like that's how I started with like the chill steps, and that helped me then get into like just the lectures.
No, yeah, I'm glad you brought up. During pandemic, when I started painting and drawing again, I would listen to all the Alan Watts chill step YouTube videos, and you're just like feeding your brain in multiple different ways. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. Like I would do it when I would like start like working out during the pandemic. I would listen to it, and it like helped me like focus, like getting like another rep in, something like another dumbbell curl in. So it's also another great way too. You could apply even in exercising as well.
True. Yeah. Another way of mindfulness, exercising.
Yeah. And so, mindfulness, like, and I know you mentioned earlier how you can go outside and like, one thing I learned is nature has really helped me, and you can apply mindfulness. So like hiking is like, I think the best. I went recently in April, with my friend. We went hiking to this, I forgot the name of the trail. It was in Bear Valley Lake. And I just remember like there was so much shrubbery and green. It just made me feel so calm. And so even just, going on a hike on like it doesn't have to be like this intense mountain. It could just be a nice winding trail. You can just learn to like just appreciate like the smell of flowers or a texture of a tree, and so there's so many things you can do with it, and especially with hiking, which is really good, great for your body too. So it helps you physically and mentally as well.
Yeah, no, nature, I think one of the best places to kind of just shut out distractions, recenter yourself. One of my favorite things is when I'm in Joshua Tree camping and you can hear the coyotes at night and see shooting stars. For me, that's one of my favorite places to just kind of be present and just focus only on that.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely forests. Like I went up in October to June Lake. I don't know if you've been there.
No.
Here, you heard of Mammoth Lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like right next to it. It's like in that Sierra Nevada area. And I just remember like it was just so calm. Like I went fishing at 5 in the morning
Oh, wow.
and just like I don't know, going on the trails. Like it was just I was only there for a weekend, but it was just so like me and some friends went up there and it was just so relaxing to do that, you know.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to cut it off for you. What else
Oh
were you gonna
no,
say?
go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, in May I went to Washington and I have never seen that many trees in my life before. And so just being in a whole different environment for the first time was just really relaxing and being able to like detox from California and the busyness. And then
Yeah.
going to Utah right after and hiking some trails by myself, just being able to just really focus on me and nature
Mhm.
was refreshing.
Yeah, definitely. And like I want to honestly, I just want to get out of SoCal. I want to go like up there, Oregon or Washington, because that's like a great, beautiful place to live in and just literally be in nature and everything. And that'll be really beautiful.
Yeah, I Pacific Northwest was my first time up there, but I would definitely be open to moving up there. I loved it.
That's good.
What else would you like to share with audience and with me when it comes to mindfulness or anything else you've learned through your journey with it?
Um, I learned mindfulness really taught me, and I think even friends who also learned it, like finding who they are themselves. So for me, like this was the time when I was transitioned from film to English. Because around this time, like I was a film major for 2 years during my undergrad, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I kind of had an idea, something with story, because I've always loved story and writing. And so it kind of like helped me find out who I was as a person and, you know, what are my interests? You know, what do I want to do? And to me, you know, I've always like I've realized like, you know, writing has been something that's been a big part of me. And I do love films. Like I appreciate like the art of films, like, but I've always just enjoyed like I felt writing was always my calling of art. So that was to me like more. So when I saw this creative writing major, and I was like, oh, you could still take screenwriting classes as elective. I was like, oh, cool, I'll do that. And so that kind of like really made me self-discover myself. And also what I want to do in the future is like I really want to get a master's in psychology and like help others too, like do clinical psychology. So that combination of helping others, learning what I did, you know, and helping those, applying mindfulness in my therapy practice, and then also doing writing on the side. So it really did help me find who I was, like an identity, because I did have this like, you know, everyone has the identity thing in their bachelor's, like find themselves,
Oh, yeah.
you know, but like it really like I think it played a big role in like finding myself and being confident in like what I wanted to do and who I was as a person. So that's definitely I like I said, I'm not saying mindful will do this to everybody who practices mindfulness, but there's a chance it can help, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, like you said, especially when you're in your early 20s, like the quarter life crisis of
Yeah.
trying to figure out what's your sole purpose, what do you want to do, what are you passionate about, but also what's logistic, what's going to help you survive and all that. And I
Yeah,
guess
that balance.
that balance, like,
It's
but,
so yeah, like that middle ground. I know what you mean. It's just yeah.
and then, like, you know, being a film major, uh, good luck. Like, it's
Yeah.
hard. So,
Yeah. It is very hard, you know,
mhm.
and like so for me it's just finding that balance. And you know I still love film. Like I want to get like I recently got into photography. I want to get back into like recording and making film stuff on this. I still love like the art of film. It's just, you know, finding that just identity of like who I am, because I'm a very open person, you know. I'm not like narrow-minded like no I just got to do this, you know. I could
Mhm.
see myself doing multiple things. But mindfulness really helped me discover like kind of my career path And it also taught me one big thing too, is that your career doesn't define your identity. That's like the biggest thing I took away from it.
Wow, that part. Say that again.
Your
Say that again.
your career doesn't define your identity. And it, because especially, in America too, we think this like, oh, if I make it's weird. And Alan Watts talked about this too, is like we worry more about a title than the income we make. And that's what I've noted. And it's crazy to think that we're like, oh, if I make, I have to become a doctor or I won't, or such so and so, or I have to be this. So just realize, you're not that just because, you can't define yourself based on your career choice you did. And I learned this through therapy, and I learned this through mindfulness as well. Just, you have to just take one day at a time and understand that, you have many options. Like, yeah, film's very hard. Like when I saw you, like you won all those competitions for your film, like wow, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Like I saw your short film, really, it was really great. Like how you got the vintage cars and stuff. Like I was like, and that's why like I really like I just support any type of artist. Like and those are the people I really want to reach out to when I become a therapist, is help those who, continue being you, continue doing your art, just who cares? Like if you're, not doing a job you love, so what? You do what you love to do, in your own time. Like many writers, they were just like J.K. Rowling. She was a cafe worker, and she wrote Harry Potter, the most, famous franchise, Harry Potter. Many of them, like Stephen King, was a teacher before he got into became a successful writer. Or, with film, like Tarantino, I remember Carrie would say he was like working at a Blockbuster or something.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he just watched a lot of films, and that's why a lot of his films were like he mixed different genres and stuff, and that's why it made him. Well, the whole thing that made him big was the whole like out of sequence thing. But yeah, so like, don't ever let your career define you, who you are. And I think that's what mindfulness really taught me personally.
That's super important. I think, well, maybe personally, maybe I'm totally wrong, but this is just from what I've been reflecting and trying to process lately. But one, it's okay to put yourself first every once in a while, at least. Like you're allowed to take care of yourself. And if that means detaching from people, social media, whatever it is, rediscovering yourself, that is so important. And if you do that through mindfulness, that's even awesome, because you're really getting to connect to yourself. And from there, like rediscovering your purpose, rediscovering you, what brings you joy, what's going to reduce those cortisol stressors and all that. And it's like I've talked about this in previous episodes, but the stress will really damage your body. And we don't really realize this, especially in California, where we're such in the United States, we're such a quick pace type of country. But it's okay to take a breath, relax. I started watching a YouTube yoga person, yogi. Her name's Cassandra, and she has like 10-minute yoga videos for the morning. And so I do that, and it helps me relax. I struggle with anxiety, and I can tell how much my anxiety just calms down of just doing yoga, meditating, doing Reiki. Like there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good things that people can do. And it doesn't have to be such a square, certain type of way.
Yeah, exactly. It's very customizable. And that's what's really nice about it. And it's funny how you mentioned that about, because the like loving yourself and finding time for self-care is very difficult. And, I had that same thing where like I would put always others first before myself. And that just damaged my own self over time. So, mindfulness making me realize that, it also made me realize, you have to love yourself and you have to self-care. It really got to me like, self-care is very important. now it's the point where like, if I don't do like my hobby, like if I don't write one day, I'm going to feel like crap. But like if I know I'm not like, I give time like, oh, I was gonna go out, like I went to San Francisco for the weekend. That's fine. I'm gonna be out with a friend. So, realizing that you just basically, mindfulness will, yeah, help you find like that inner self and basically show that, there's you're important as well.
Mm-hmm. I have known to be way too generous. I sometimes to a fault always look for the give people the benefit of the doubt and
Mhm.
putting people first, and sometimes it can be taxing, and it's had to really come with some reflection and self-love to cut friendships, my relationship, and now I have all this extra time to me to rediscover me, whatever bits and pieces I've lost through other activities or other energies, people. Now is a time to kind of recenter. And so it's like, if it's, you don't need to feel guilty for doing that. If there's a day where you decide, I'm not going to read, I'm not going to write, I'm not going to do yoga today, it's not a sin either. You're allowed. It's okay. Like,
Yeah,
be compassionate and graceful with yourself.
because at the end of the day, we're our own worst critic, and you have to understand is just like self-care is just very important. Self-compassion, you just have to have that, or it's very difficult. Like what I learned the hard way of self-care, like not having self-care, it's hard to find, a good relationship. It's hard to find, um stick, like, because like I one of my closest friends, I had to cut him off because he was just a very toxic person. Like you said, I also give people the benefit of the doubt, and I gave this guy so many chances, but it was just too toxic. It was damaging my own mental health, and it was just, I just had to cut him out of my life. So yeah, definitely realizing that if this person is not growing, like it's okay if if it's okay if a person, can grow. Like I've met people who grew over time and matured or whatever it might be. But, if you realize like this person's just not growing, you might have to cut them out of your life, because you as a, like, this was a time when I was growing as a person through mindfulness and just my own like self-discovery. So kind of like finding that realization really helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's like, if you're familiar with Christianity and the Bible says iron sharpens iron, or other sayings is like water seeks its own level. The
Yeah.
type of people you attract is a reflection of yourself. And
Mhm.
if people aren't growing with you, or if they're putting you down, dragging you like an anchor, some things to reconsider.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is, so we heard of, the whole thing of like people say, oh, that's a vibe, good vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you knew this, but vibe is actually short for vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever vibrations we put out, that's what literally what we attract. So, and this is I don't know if there's this book, it's called who is it? The Law of Attraction. I don't know if you heard of it.
I know of Law of Attraction, but I don't know the book.
Well, I know someone wrote a book of it. Like
Oh, okay.
Law of Attraction. And it basically just talks about how, like, yeah, you put out whatever you put out into the world, like yourself, you'll receive. So if you have this like negative image of yourself, you're going to gain like toxic people. And that's what happened to myself. But now that I'm, more positive, I've attracted more, positive people into my life and more energetic people. So that really helped me, it really showed me that, it's true that like vibration is whatever you put out, you receive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to share with the audience?
Um, no, that's pretty much it. And like I said, just take it one day at a time. Don't, with mindfulness, there's so many out there. Don't feel overwhelmed if it doesn't work. Cause like I was kind of hesitant about it first time, but definitely do that. And just, the biggest thing is just to love yourself, and that's another thing it really will teach you, well, taught me at least.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I'm still figuring it out. And again, like you said, take it day by day, baby steps. It doesn't have to be a huge thing that you need to figure it out once. It's a gradual progress. And
Yeah.
after a while, once you see that growth, it's really cool to see where you were and where you are now. So
Yeah. There's this guy that this old guy who used to go to my church. He gave me like one of the best when I was a kid. He gave me this advice I still stick with today. Is like he's saying like, you're not a bum in a day. You don't become a bum in a day, or you don't become a billionaire in a day. It's just like little choices you make slowly bring you up or down. And that's what I've learned. And definitely helped me with my own like my own work and my own passions and hobbies. So I definitely just recommend that to anybody.
that I like that saying. I've never heard that before, but it's so true. And especially right now, our peer group, like this is the time where you're setting the foundation for the rest of your life. And so the little things you do, whether it's financial, career, your mental health, your physical body, relationships, like all of the little choices matter now. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Michelangelo, for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Zyra.
Yeah, I had a fun time. I didn't eat much of my crackers because when I'm self-conscious about crunching, and also I was too focused on the conversation. But
yeah, I only had like 2 slices of cheese.
What kind of cheese did you have?
It was aged cheddar.
Oh, okay, that's a goodie.
Yeah, I've always been a cheddar guy, so yeah.
Awesome. Well, my cat's here trying to get on, so I'll bring him on to say hi.
Oh yeah, I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. I hope it was insightful. All the books and different Netflix, YouTube stuff, I'll link in the bio that we can check it out. One step at a time, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this podcast, please share with other people. If you or somebody would love to talk more about topics, like feel free to message me. But yeah, thanks, Michelangelo.
Yeah, no problem.
One final cheers.
I barely have any.
I know, same. Okay, well, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.